Hey, yo, what's going on, friends? Back from our sweet dreams and sweet nightmares. How the hell you feeling? It's Shawn the Butcher here with Vertebrae33. This is In Madness Pod, episode 36.5. It's about to get crazy. How you doing, Vertebrae?
I'm good, Shawn. I hope everyone's doing good. This has been quite the process leading into this episode. A lot of nights of me falling asleep on the couch trying to get through Nightmare on Elm Street films. So I am very excited to talk about these films. I'm probably more excited to talk about them than I was to watch
Mm.
some of them. But there are cool parts and there's some interesting tidbits, so we'll get into it. But this is the first time, Shawn, we've ever done this many episodes of anything on
5
this show.
movies in one half an episode, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how we always jam up Christmas with completely opposite of Christmas. Like last Christmas, it was all month. I was doing Exorcist, and I had Reagan possessed in as I was decking the halls. I was dodging green vomit, and now the same thing this year. I'm decking the halls, and I'm watching Freddy's weird kid turn into Freddy. Just insanity. But yes, make sure you follow us on the socials. We are the premier podcast at In Madness Pod on everything, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. We're still awaiting some voice notes and some emails. We're going to do our In Madness year in review. Tell us one of your favorite moments of the year at In Madness Pod, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. We're on YouTube. You can watch us live. Well, whenever the hell you want on your own time. See what cool mugs Vertebrae has and cool new art we got in the background. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, give us the 5-star reviews. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist, which grows with every single episode. I'm sure we'll probably add a song or two after this episode.
Yeah,
There's something
probably.
like 100 songs on there. It's over 5 hours as of right now. Happy In Madness Monday. If that is when you're listening, we drop a new episode every single Monday. In case you're new here and don't know that, make sure you tell everyone you know about this podcast. The same way you found out about it, let somebody else know about it. And you can get your shirt at inmadness.com. And Vertebrae, what mug do you have for this crazy 36.5 episode?
I've got you ready for this? It's fitting. I've got a Legoland mug.
Oh, cool.
Crazy episode 2 through 7 Legoland mug. Shawn, you mentioned it, the first ever In Madness holiday special, right? We're gonna run around and with tinsel on our heads and make jokes and red and green striped sweaters. I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm trying to
I'm not sure.
organize something absolutely ridiculous. If
Yes.
I can pull it off, it'll
If you
be a
can pull it off.
goddamn miracle. But we need to pull it off. So we need to come together very soon and figure out how in the hell we're gonna pull this off. But I was like sitting on my couch, like the thinker, and I'm just like, how do I
Yeah.
make this work? And I think it's very simple. It's simple enough in my brain.
There's
If
one
you put it on
large
paper,
component of your plan
you,
that could
you,
send it off the cliff at
you.
any moment. But I'm excited. I'm excited when you get thinking. I'm excited when I get the big blocks of text from you with your ideas in there. I'm like, because Shawn is, if you get text from Shawn, he's usually like a one sentence texter,
Texter.
right? So you'll look and it'll be like, oh, 8 texts from Shawn, but it might be like one word in each line. If you've got an idea, when you send me a concept, I know when I see a block of text, I know I'm getting a good concept. I do. I know it's worth reading.
I have text
Quality
threads.
text.
I have text
Yeah.
threads with buddies who are just like, it's like, why can't you just send this all in one text? Because it's not how I think, and I text how I think. Da-da-da-da.
Right.
Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. But also, there's been many mornings where poor unfortunate souls have awoken to those block texts and even some replies in the thread to other people, and they'll wake up to 181 texts and they're like, not reading that. Sorry it happened, or congratulations for you. Yeah.
Listen, every time I read your texts, now that we've been doing the podcast for so long, I read it just like the end of The Outsiders, where like you hear the voice, like I hear your voice narrating to me. right? So I know your stream of conscience when you're headed down a path, and I know, without even capital letters, I can tell the angst-filled ones.
Sometimes
But
I even send voice notes. Yeah.
you know what's funny though, Shawn, is when we started this podcast, I remember thinking like Shawn's going to be the angry one, and I'm going to have to like kind of temper that a little bit.
So
And I've
yeah,
noticed that I've had a few more like off the leash moments, right, than you have.
this is how I flip it on you. I make you think I'm gonna be crazy, and then it
Oh,
comes on, and then I make you the crazy one.
mm,
No, here's the thing. I've lived my life as the crazy one. I spent many, many years as the angry, crazy one. Still am, but I try to like keep it within this box in this room
hmm
and try to not let it leave. Because misery loves company, and that's I notice a lot of that where people are just like, ugh, and
right.
everyone wants to drag the mood down. And I realized that, like, once I realized that I was very much that person and very much still might be in little ways, like, I set out to change that completely because no one wants to be a wet rag all the time. And no, and I still have my moments because I remember the text thread that probably gave you interest. And I think it was for the very first, the Halloween remake, when you and I stayed up for like an hour and I was just like, text, 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 text. And you're like, this guy's out of his fucking mind. But I have, yeah, no, I have my, my Exorcist believer moments. I have
uh-huh.
those. But we've covered everything we've covered. I've loved so much and so dearly. I haven't had to have an off the leash moment in 2 years, but we'll see what next
I'll
year has
get
to
I'll
bring.
get you there. I'll get you there eventually. I'm gonna get you there. I'm
Well,
gonna
you know
bore you
what?
to
You
death
know
with the
what?
movie.
We might get there right now.
Oh man, you want to jump in because this is
So
a
here's
lot.
what we're
So
doing. Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. You want
explain
to
that
tell?
to
I'll,
everybody.
I'll
No,
explain.
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so we left it up to you, the Id Madness family. We left it up to a vote. What movie did you want us to cover? And I put this in knowing it was going to be an absolute landslide victory, and it was. It's a movie I've wanted to cover for a while. It's also the 40th anniversary of Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. And I also specifically made it a point to say that I don't think we need to cover any of the sequels because I don't particularly love any of them. And then we decided, no, we shouldn't do that. We should cover all of them in one action packed episode. So we dedicated 2 episodes to the original, deservedly so, iconic moments, epic moments, 2 milking of the alpacas moments. And now we have decided for some reason that we're
Mm,
going to torture ourselves and watch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I have notes for.
mhm.
And they just get more ridiculous and more in detail as I go, but I'm not going to try and go too crazy into detail because I want to know some of your favorite and least favorite moments from these movies. But we're going to cover the rest of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies right now with you in this episode.
Here we go. Here we go. Original movie comes out in 1984, 40 years ago. So we covered that in 2 episodes, like Shawn said. Huge hit. Got to make a sequel, right? Have to make a sequel,
Cha-ching.
right? First off, I'll question even the name of the sequel. So it's this is the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, comes out in
Freddy's
1985.
Revenge. Yep.
Now, I'm not sure what he's getting revenge for because last we saw the entity known as Freddy, he was controlling a car, conceivably controlling somebody's entire life. And maybe everyone's dead, maybe everyone's alive, maybe it's in one dream, we're not really sure, but it's not like they really defeated him. They sort of defeated him and he turned into glitter dust at one point, but he was back later and we ended in a dream. So anyway, we get revenge. And what I did, Shawn, is I went through the movie and I kind of just took little notes here and there, but I didn't know if you wanted to give kind of a quick synopsis
No,
of
I
the
mean, I
movie.
really don't have a synopsis. Like my
Okay.
hope is that anyone who's listening to this has seen these movies, and it's like hard to remember them specifically because once you watch them all
Yeah.
together, they all sort of blend together, and
We
you
could
don't
jump
know what's
around too.
what.
I'll say that it's just this is a very strange film. So first of all, the main character Jesse, played by Mark Patton, his family's moved into this house only 5 years later. So
Nancy's house.
yes, Nancy's house. And like Shawn mentioned before, the house somehow becomes a connection to Freddy, which honestly I'll never understand because he didn't grow up in that house. He didn't kill anyone in that house. His mom wasn't in that house, who she becomes a very big part of these films. And so I never get that. But this film, and I mentioned to you very quickly before we jumped on, because I wanted to talk to you about it now, is also kind of controversial.
See, and I didn't even know until you told me.
Right. So essentially what happened is, and if you watch it under these eyes, you'll notice it. But this film is kind of known for being kind of a big homosexual horror film with the main character. Right. And there's a documentary, and Shawn and I are not equipped to go into any of this context on all of this. And if you are and know more about it, please write in and let us know. But Shawn, the star of the film, Mark Patton, in '85, he's closeted. So he's an actor and he's trying to make it in Hollywood, but he's not come out. And there's a documentary on this, which I haven't seen and I need to see, called Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's his story. And essentially, his story is basically, as they went along with the filming of this movie and knowing that he was gay, they sort of ended up rewriting the script and throwing in other lines and other things. So they're almost kind of outing him. And essentially, it ruined his entire career,
Ugh.
which is
Well,
awful.
now me shitting all over this movie that I disliked is going to make me feel like an asshole.
Right. And I need to see the documentary because I'm just glossing over it very quickly. I also don't think Shawn not having not seen it or having not read about it doesn't make for an intelligent discussion about it. But if you go into this film looking at it, and there's sort of this rampant homoeroticism in this film, and he's sort of a final girl in a lot of ways. And we get this scene with the gym teacher and a bunch of stuff like that that really starts to play out differently. And he said that he felt betrayed because, he had played a role before as a gay teen, and then he was sort of typecast. And although he wasn't supposed to be gay in this film, they kind of just kept pushing it in. And even in the documentary, if you watch the trailer, Robert Englund's in it. And he's like, they wrote about it in the script at a certain couple points.
It's fucked up. Hollywood's a
Yeah.
bitch, ain't it?
Yeah, that's really messed up. And I think that adds kind of a whole other, just, we get into these sequels and the originals are so well planned out and so, unique and well acted. And then we just get into this sequel where just like, oh crap, 1984 that comes out, we need to make another one. Well, the other one comes out in 1985. So I don't know. I didn't look into it. How long did it take for them to cast people and film it and get it written? Not enough time to make a quality film. And this film is such a step back from the original. We get crazy scenes throughout, and we can talk. We can both mention a few things, from it that we think are crazy, but this is really the beginning, Shawn, of goofy Freddy, and he gets way goofier as it goes along. But what's weird about this franchise, and this is where it has it mirrors the Halloween franchise for me, is that Halloween comes out, it's this amazing film, groundbreaking, everybody's in love with it, just like Nightmare on Elm Street. Then we get Halloween 2. Shawn loves Halloween 2, but arguably takes a step back for the franchise, introduces this weird loop with the sister thing and stuff like that into it. And then we get 3, and 3 now is beloved by anyone who's into Halloween, much like 3 in this series is beloved by people who are into Nightmare on Elm Street. And then we start to get into some weirdness, and we get into the Thorn stuff and everything in Halloween, just as we also get into the whole Freddy's mom stuff in this. So they almost like run sort of parallel to a lot of those Halloween films. So what we have not had yet is we haven't had I know there was a remake, but we haven't had sort of the Blumhouse takeover remake. Like nobody has looked at this and said, hey, I love the film The Witch. I love the film Hereditary. How can we make a Nightmare on Elm Street that can live in that type of world? Imagine if somebody took those hands that made Hereditary and made a Nightmare on Elm Street that way.
Yeah,
Would be pretty amazing.
that'd be gnarly as hell.
So I blabbed on in the beginning a lot, Shawn. I need to hear about. Can you give me a couple of like your favorite parts of this one?
I mean, no, because a lot of it I really so I enjoyed his friendship with Grady. I
Mm-hmm.
really how they hated each other, but then they were also like when they're sitting there doing push-ups and he's like, "So did you get laid yet?" And he's like, "Jesus, man." And he's like, "Hey man, I'm just trying to make small talk."
Yeah.
Like he's a bit of an asshole like the Rod character was in part 1, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a bully but also like a best friend situation. So I kind of enjoyed their back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And we get a couple crazy things. We get the pool party scene, right? So we get Freddy. There's this big pool party at the house, at the girl's house, and Freddy kind of takes it over. We get the grill fire going wild. He starts wasting beer, Shawn. He commits an awful crime where he's got the beer shooting out of the cans. And this is where Freddy is sort of coming into the real world. We go back and forth on all these films. Does he exist? Can people see him? Can they not see him? Is it only in a dream? He disappears into some flames at that point, into like the bushes, and they're not sure where. Um, they go to Lisa, the character whose house it is, and is kind of sort of pseudo love interest for Jesse. She leaves, and this is confusing to me. She first of all she drives to where he killed the kids, but I thought it was like a just like a boiler room in some building, but it's like a
A big
factory.
warehouse thing, yeah.
But so the whole place looks like it's Freddy's lair. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like it's bright and sunny in one spot and then you go into this awful boiler room. The whole place just looks like it would be where he's at, which is a little weird to me. And the lighting there is in red and green lights they put as she's
Oh,
entering
was
it.
it?
Yeah, yeah. And then she passes these two human dogs, two human head dogs. They have like masks on. They call them the Nightmare Dogs. Do you remember the Nightmare Dogs?
I don't really know.
Yeah, so that's that there's somebody did like a toy of that and stuff, but they have these
That's
weird like
funny.
human masks on.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Yep, yes. I remember. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. When I got this DVD, this was part of the DVD set that I bought from Walmart. I posted it on our In Madness page with the orange Freddy cover. And I just bought it and I opened it up and I put this DVD in for the second movie. And there's a big smudge on it and it didn't work. And I was like, already? I
Mm,
just bought this thing and it doesn't work. So I had to stream it and watch it. And I was very annoyed. I was very annoyed.
Pluto.
I
It's on
just,
Pluto.
is that what it's on?
Yeah,
I
it's on
think that's what I
Pluto,
watched it on. I think that's what
but
I
it's a
watched
lot
it
of
on.
there's commercials on
Yeah, but I was
Pluto.
so annoyed. I was like, I just bought this DVD and the goddamn thing is smudged and it doesn't friggin' work. But I was like, you know
That's
what? It's all
crazy.
right because I only bought it for the first one anyway.
Right. So, you know what's interesting too is we get towards the end of this film and we talked about this I talked about this stuff in the beginning, but Freddy like takes over Jesse from the
So he
inside.
enlists Jesse to kill for him, which confused the hell out of me.
Yeah, that's a weird aspect of this. Like, is Freddy not powerful enough? Does he need somebody else to do this? I'm not really sure. Um, but like at the end, we get to it. She kisses Freddy, and she keeps asking Jesse to come out. Which do you think of what Mark Patton tells everybody afterwards? It's like, whoa, this is not just like a cheesy horror movie. They're really playing with subtext on this one. Um, and then he's melting, he bursts into flames, and then and ultimately Jesse is underneath Freddy, and there he is. But the ending, Shawn, is it a dream? Was it all a dream? Was it not a dream? We're on the school bus. Like the movie starts with this crazy school bus scene and ends. It's bookended by this crazy school bus scene. Um, this was a hard one to watch of all of them.
I like that Jesse tried to do the same thing that Nancy did. And he's like, I'm going to go in my dream and I'm going to get Freddy. And he looks at Grady and he's like, don't fall asleep.
Mhm.
And then Jesse goes to sleep, and then Grady's sitting there, and he's like, "Good night, buddy," and he just passes out, and then the shit hits the fan. I was like, just
Yeah.
like Glenn.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a weird one. Do you have any other points about
I
2 that
did
you wanna
notice
talk
there was
about?
not much gloved hand. The
Mhm.
hand itself, the claws just came out of the
Yes,
hand.
and
It
there's a whole
wasn't part
scene
of
where
a
they
glove.
kind of, like, emerge, like Wolverine.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
No? Not a
No.
fan?
No, I didn't like most of this movie. Most of the things about this movie, I did not. I've seen it a couple of times, and every time I see it, I'm like, I gotta stop putting myself through this. Why do I keep watching this movie?
You know, it's crazy, they do the thing if you're gonna do, like, all the claws come out and it's not the gloved hand and stuff, but, like, w why so soon? Like, we're just establishing this character in one film. We just established him in one film. Why do we need to change it so quickly? This happens a lot in like other films, like it'll happen in like some superhero movies where they need to quickly like so and so needs to reveal themselves to like six people that that's who they really are. When in like the comics, they're gonna go like hundreds of issues before they ever sort of let anyone onto that. And why change these rules? What was why couldn't you take the established rules of part one and just expand upon them? Just go darker. And that's what Wes Craven wanted to do, and that's where he wasn't really too involved in these movies until we get to the new Nightmare, because he saw the need to go darker with it and weirder, and the studio saw the need to just have Freddy be the star and have him be quirky and goofy and lets everyone love him, and we'll sell a bunch of Freddy merchandise.
Which I have.
Right, right. So it worked. It worked. They made money. These movies made money. This movie is very 1985, very much 1985. It does not hold up so well.
Yeah, no, I didn't love it, and I was not thrilled with it, and I can't see myself probably watching it again unless we're gonna bring it up for whatever reason again on this podcast.
Yeah. I won't say that because you know what happens to me, right?
Oh,
I
you
say that
yeah,
about a
yeah,
movie and
all
then
the
I start like I'll text you and be like, oh my God, Sean, I saw this, this, and this in part two. So part three.
Dream Warriors!
Yes. So we got to put the Dokken song on
I
the
guess
yep.
we will now add Dokken Dream Warriors to the In Madness Spotify playlist.
Yeah, so Dream Warriors, I actually have, and I couldn't find it, but I know I had it, and I hope I didn't throw it away. But I had the Dokken, like I think I had it was on vinyl, but I think I had maybe it was maybe like a single, of just that song. But because I was never really a big Dokken fan, so I think I didn't care about the B side. I just wanted to hear the Dream Warriors and go fight people in my dreams. So it comes out in 1987. So they give a nice clean 2 years to handle this movie, and it shows. This is a much better film
It's much more
than part three.
enjoyable, much more likable people in this movie. It's I care a little bit more about what the story and what's going on.
Hmm.
Nancy's house is now abandoned. They did the can't run feet in the muck peanut butter gag that I love so
Hmm.
much. That was one of my favorite things. And of course, we got Lawrence Fishburne,
Yes.
Morpheus.
I gotta go through my notes real quick. You ready?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this is what
please.
I wrote when I'm watching the film. Let's do an inside baseball. This is exactly what I wrote on my notes. So I wrote Poe quote, sleep, those little slices of death, how I loathe them. That's how it opened with the Edgar Allan Poe quote. And then I wrote paper mache. We hear Into the Fire by Dokken. We see that Kristen was making the Freddy house out of paper mache. Then we hear the Freddy song. It's back. So that Freddy song was not in two, I don't believe. I
No,
don't.
was it? And wait, so is it Into the Fire or Dream Warriors? Which one is it? I think
Oh,
it's Into
man.
the Fire. Into the Fire. Yeah, I think that's the one that they featured. I don't know. Did they feature them both in? I don't know. I'll check it out. Whichever one is the
Check it out. Put them both
predominantly in the
on.
movie. Yeah.
We'll just have a Dokken moment. Then I wrote, and I don't know why, Sean, because no one else reads these. I use a lot of exclamation points on my notes, like I'm trying to yell at myself as I write these. I don't know, but I wrote Larry Fishburne with 3 exclamation points. Um, and it says Nancy is back. Feels like we're trying to get the franchise back on
Nancy
track.
is back. She is a sleep specialist now.
and we start to meet the Dream Warriors team. So in 80s fashion, we roll out this team of characters that all have different abilities.
So they're all
And
being held in a mental institution because, again, no adults seem to believe them about this Freddy character haunting them in their dreams.
still no, right, that nobody believes anybody. I think they believe that Nancy's mom killed herself, as I remember correctly, I think. So we meet the Dream Warriors. We see a drawing of the house. There's strong connections to the house. There's a melting tricycle with bloody tracks we
I
see.
gotta say, one of the grossest parts of this movie is right in the beginning when she's slopping that glue onto that paper with her fingers, and I'm like, "This
Oh,
is
paper
so
mache,
gross."
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "This is so
Yeah.
wear a
Uh,
glove or something. This is so
you
nasty."
never did that when you were a kid with the
No,
Elmer's glue and
no.
water? Oh, I guess you didn't eat Elmer's glue either
I
then,
would
right?
smell it. It would smell so good.
Yeah. We used to, like, put it on our hands and let it dry, and
Oh,
then
yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah,
you
make
peel
yeah.
it off, and, like, "Oh, my skin is peeling. Oh."
I remember that.
Oh, man. You know, when I was in school, we were in one of the art classes when I was younger. I don't know why I thought of this, but this kind of fits into the weirdness of the Freddy universe. But there was a kid in the class who was a bit of a bully and bullied me for many years. And we were making stuff out of clay, and he was smashing people's clay structures,
Great.
whatever they made. And somebody put a pencil inside theirs, and the pencil went right into his hand. He had to go to the nurse. I
Good.
think that stopped him from smashing people's sculptures. But anyway, that would fit into one of these movies. That weirdness would definitely fit into one of these movies. We see pulling people into dreams. And I wrote in my notes, Shawn, do not ever pull me in. You're better off without me.
Leave me
Those are
the
my
fuck
exact.
alone.
Those are my exact notes. I said,
So
there's a hip. Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
Nancy has this drug, this nightmare suppressant, Hypnosil, that she wants to put all the kids on to suppress their nightmares so they do not die in their dreams.
Mm-hmm. And
Uh,
then
yeah.
hypnosis. I wrote hypnosis scene. Uh, they needed some deep sleep, and then I wrote I was dozing off. this, at this point, this movie was putting me to sleep with the hypnosis, and then I wrote, Shawn, what is your dream power?
Oh, not being able to run.
That's not a power, though.
I
How
know.
would you?
I never have anything that I can like I can't fly in my dreams. I'm not a wizard. I don't have superhuman strength. I'm
But
not
you could use
crazy
your.
sexy cool with knives. I'm peanut butter legs and I'm always have a gang of people chasing me and I can't move my peanut butter legs.
So if you're part of my Dream Warriors team, what are you, just the bait?
I'm peanut butter man. I'm
You're just
screwed.
the
Yeah.
bait. We just let you. Yeah, you're bait. Okay, all right. See, I thought I'd at least be like Logic Man. Like maybe I could sort of like explain us
No, I
out
feel
of
like you'd be
things.
Art Man and you would draw something in
Oh,
like
we get that later
midair,
on in one of these movies. I don't want to be that guy.
and then you could oh god, yeah, no. Well, that maybe that's you. But no, but I feel like your dream power, like you would just draw on thin air, like you draw like a surfboard,
Oh,
and then you
yeah.
could pull the surfboard out of thin
Mhm.
air, and then you're
Yeah,
like
you know,
riding the
I
surfboard.
would have to draw a red wagon so I can pull Shawn around through the neighborhood in this red wagon because he's just a glob of peanut butter legs. But I wrote, and then I wrote holy water,
Hmm.
question mark, exclamation point. There's a religious connection now. The rules are changing. We didn't have we had a religious connection with his mom.
Hmm.
That was it. And we know what happened to her. But now it's like a strong religious connection. We'll continue to get that in these movies. Um, and then Nancy dies, and we see the
Some of
light of
the
the house go on.
kills that I enjoy. I like when Freddy turns into the giant worm and starts eating the girl. That's pretty cool.
Oh
I like
yeah.
I like when he rips the kid's guts out and he's walking him like a
Mhm.
puppet. Yeah, that's just absolutely nightmarish. And then we get the iconic "Welcome to Prime Time," bitch.
Yeah,
Where
with the
he
TV.
yeah throws the chick through the TV.
So how
Um,
do they explain that, Shawn? So the two things. So first of all, the two things you mentioned. So he walks the kid, and then they say he killed himself. but the other kids are watching, and they can tell that like he's kind of fighting it, but he didn't kill himself. And then when she gets her head bashed into the TV and she's hanging there, she's off the ground. So like, did they think she took a running jump and like that one's weird. Like these adults, like you said,
Whatever it is, it definitely wasn't Freddy. It was these crazy ass kids.
yeah, this is since the first one. So we had two, which was a mess, and then this is more enjoyable because this gives us this adventure film. This is like Dungeons and Dragons in a way. They're on their adventure, their dream quest. They're the dream warriors. But at the end, so Nancy
Well,
dies.
we find out that
Oh,
Amanda Kruger, Freddy's mom, was raped by 100 maniacs, and
more
Freddy's.
than that, I think. Right? Was it
I think they
100?
said a bastard son of 100 maniacs.
Right. And they lean into this in the other movies, right? So
Yes.
we get there's a nun that's been visiting, and then at the end we get the reveal that that nun was Freddy's mother, and she sort of disappears because you know everything's good. We took care of Freddy. Time to go. She's gone, Shawn. She's never coming back in another film. Oh wait.
Oh wait.
But those are my notes exactly as I wrote it. When Nancy dies, we see the house, and then the
Mhm.
light goes on inside. We
I
see the
can't
paper mache
believe
house.
Nancy dies. I was like, what are you kidding me? Your only real likable character and you kill him off?
Right. Right. She has the little like dream protector doll thing and the house that the guy has with her. And you could tell I didn't these this was a lot to get through. So my notes were exactly as I'm reading them because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get into cast and cast names
No,
and all
no. I didn't
production
hate it
and
as
every
much as I hated it a little less than I hated part 2.
right. I would say right now, if we were just living in a world where we weren't past three, I would say the order of movies you like are one, three, and two.
Mm.
That
I love the Saw similarities. The doctor's name in this movie was Dr. Gordon, and that's
mhm.
doctor's name in the first Saw movie.
Oh
And
yeah.
the red tricycle. The red tricycle is what the little Saw doll rides up on. So
Oh,
I picked up a lot of Saw resemblance in this third movie. So maybe they use Dream Warriors as a influence in that
maybe.
first Saw flick.
So here
That's
we
it for
go,
me
Shawn.
for part 3, Dream Warriors into
We're moving
the
on.
fire. Yeah, yeah.
We're moving on.
I still need
1988 brings up.
Dream Master.
So we only get 1 year in between again. So we're gonna find out what happens when we only have 1 year in between these films. Dream Master, often referred to as the MTV nightmare of the franchise, a very MTV kind of situation here. All right, you want to do it again? I'll read my notes
Well, wait, it's so funny because this is part 4, and I think in Halloween part 4 doesn't like the blonde say like when all the cops are in the house, like, I wish we could put on some MTV.
There you go. See? See? It all works. It weaves together, Shawn. This is all weaving together. So you stop me. I'll read my
Go
lines as I
ahead, go
wrote them
ahead.
exactly. Kristen is back.
The kids are back, but it's not like the main chick. It's not the same chick from the other movie. It's like she's playing the same character, but it's a different actress.
Is it a different actress?
I think
Did I
so.
sleep through that part?
I
Oh
think
my
so
god.
because I was like, this is not the same chick. There's no way.
You know what's so funny is poor Mrs. Vertebrae33 has to periodically dive into these films with me. And she felt very bad for me because Shawn, I could not, if we pause for a second, I could not stay awake to
Hmm.
save my life.
Hmm.
I kept falling asleep throughout these movies. I'm going to tell you that I got to part 5 and I got about 20 minutes left of part 5 and I conk out
Hmm.
and Pluto does this weird thing where it puts part 4 back on. So now I wake up and part 4 is running and now I'm like, wait, I don't understand. There's little arms coming out of his body again. They're doing this again. Why would they do this again? And then I realized that I had jumped back. When we get to 7, I'll tell you how long it took me to get through the end of that movie. But um, I thought it was the same
No,
actress, and
it
she
was
just looked different.
Patricia Arquette was in part 3,
Yes.
and in part 4 it was Tuesday night, if Google has this
Right.
correctly. And
And
actually,
that's crazy because I should have had that in my notes. That was a big thing that Patricia Arquette was in Dream Warriors. That was not a big deal at the time, but kind of after that a little bit. It was Patricia Arquette. But okay, so Kristen is back with Kincaid and Joey.
the kids are back.
Then we get this sick training montage, 3 exclamation point. And this kid is the kid that I always wanted to be. Right? He's doing all this like these karate tricks and everything, and they're playing anything by Dramarama. So I think we've got to put
Oh, we
Dramarama.
have to? If
Come
you
on,
want to. If
Sean.
you want to,
Let's
I'll do
do
it.
it. They have the worst dad. He's drinking and he hasn't redeemed himself yet.
Hates his kids.
Hates his kids. He's drinking like crazy. He says at one point, I don't need this aggravation, from them. We jump forward. This is just me jumping forward in my notes. Stop me
Did
if
you
you have
catch
anything else.
Kincaid's dog's name?
Sean, if I could screenshot my notes, my next sentence says, Kincaid's dog's name is Jason. 4 exclamation points. The dog
That's like them
pisses.
putting the alien skull in Predator 2.
Yes. The dog pisses fire, opens up Freddy's grave. He starts reforming, and then Jason takes off. I pissed fire. I did what I had to do. I'm out of here. Yep, that's in my notes. And then I wrote, Joey dies inside the waterbed.
How's this for a wet dream?
Oh,
Classic.
Classic. Kristen's mother drugs her with sleeping pills. Another example of awful parenting.
So I like when they do Robert Englund plays the school nurse, like just as Robert Englund and not as Freddy.
Yeah. And I wrote, Kristen's mother drugs her with sleeping pills, exclamation point. All of these movies are full of awful parents. That's what I wrote. And we get Freddy on the beach with sunglasses. LOL is what I wrote.
I like yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say we got the girl, the bug death. I thought the bug death was
yes.
I thought it was the coolest part of the movie. And then in my note says rest of movie sucks ass.
Rick dies. And then I wrote, wait, he gets a funeral? So like here we are again. They would allude to the original. Like some people get funerals, some people don't get it. So we're bringing something back from the original. Alice gets all the skills of the dead kids. So she takes on, as these kids are dying, she starts to gather up their powers.
She's like rogue.
Yeah. And then I wrote weird nunchuck scene because she picks up the nunchucks.
Oh, yeah.
And she starts to do it, but then they cut to the back of her head and it's clearly not her. I think it's like even a dude with a wig on, and it's just like perfect at these things. That was pretty funny. And then she's in this diner that she works at, but it's like a dream sequence, and there's a human head covered pizza. You remember the human head covered pizza?
Yeah, Freddy's just picking away at it with his little claws.
Yeah, little head like little meatballs.
Yeah.
And then Alice gets stuck in a time warp, and she keeps replaying the scene over and over again.
So annoying. Hated this part of the movie.
She's with her dude. What's his?
The hunk. You're one hot, handsome hunk. I don't need
Dan. Because Dan comes back. Then we get a Thing-style monster with children coming out of Freddy and killing him. That's pretty cool.
I was listening back to our Nightmare on Elm Street episodes, and I said a lot of Freddy's death. I said all of Freddy's deaths are very uneventful. I take it back with that one because I dig when his body comes alive with the souls and the souls come back to kill him. I thought that was pretty friggin' epic. And another thing, the only other notable thing I have in my notes is Freddy raps in the credits.
Yes. Was that in this one or was that in the next one?
It might have been in the next one too, but it was definitely in this one.
I have it in my next one. I missed it in this one.
Yeah, he did. So there was, and that's the thing. I kept the credits rolling for a while because I was doing other shit. So there were a couple of other songs on. The Freddy rap didn't come on till like the middle of the credits.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Dream Master, again, I was just like, I don't need to do this to myself. Why are we doing this to ourselves?
And you know what? I hope it's enjoyable to listen. And we're doing a public service.
And that's the
We're
thing, but
giving
that's
you
the
notes
thing.
on these. You never
People
have to watch them.
people tell me like, "Oh, I loved this one." Why? There are people who like love number 3 and part 4 and part 5. "Oh, I like this one," and I'm like,
I do like three. Three I like, right? I do. And there's parts of this four, like with the children, the arms and stuff, that was pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah, I just like the bug when he turns the girl into a bug. She crawls into the bug trap. She's all in the goo. He
Mhm.
picks up the thing, he squeezes it, and all this like orange goo comes out of it. It's pretty
Mm.
sick.
Okay, so here we
Oh
go,
God,
Sean.
here we go. I texted you about this
Part five.
immediately. Dream Child.
So the Dream Child comes out in 1989. So we get 1 year in between the films. Never a good idea when we get 1 year in between these films. Alice and Dan are back. And then I wrote after the nightmare scene, it gets very 80s really fast. So Alice and Dan are back. They're graduating. They're a couple. They're going to go run off to Europe together or wherever. Dad is turned over a new leaf,
Sober.
sober, and he's become a good dad. And he kind of hides out at her graduation because he doesn't want to embarrass her. So we get that. And then you get the I wrote it gets 80s very fast, and then just stop me if you have anything to say
I
because I don't
got
want to cut you off.
Freddie's mom flashback.
So
We
I
get
said we see the birth
baby Freddie
or rebirth of Freddy, and we get creepy Freddy baby, is what I wrote.
crawling around killing doctors. It is the creepiest shit ever. Baby Freddie, I mean, as ridiculous and stupid and hilarious it is definitely like the highlight of this franchise.
So we get baby Freddy, and I put the way these kids talk so incredibly corny. Dan is racing to help Alice. We get some radio craziness, and then Freddy takes over the car. Then he takes over a bike. We get a million corny lines from Freddy. Need for speed, fuel injection. Better not dream and drive.
Literally, I could see the writers sitting in the room just like writing a line and throwing it off a paper, writing a line and throwing it off a paper. And they're
Mm.
just like, how many ridiculous, stupid things can we think of?
I wrote head on collision, and Dan is gone. Truck driver has a red sweater and a Freddy like hat.
Yes. Yes.
Greta is choked to death, and no one's moved to help her in her room. So Greta, her friend, who's like the would-be model, and her mom's sort of training her to be this famous model. There's her death scene, which is that's a pretty innovative one, where she's stuffed with food, or that's how she looks in the dream state, but she's really just at a dinner table with all these really snooty people, and she's choking to death, and nobody even budges to help her, and she just chokes to death. And I put the worst people ever exclamation point.
Mhm. So
And
I
then
didn't understand. This girl is pregnant. She pregnant with Freddie's baby?
no, she's pregnant with her own
So
baby
she's
Jacob.
pregnant with her own baby, Jacob. So she's seeing a grown-up Jacob.
Yes,
But
Freddy's trying to use Jacob against her.
so
And then
as her baby is in her womb, the baby is having nightmares, and
yes,
this is what is bringing back Freddie.
yes, he's using the baby as a bridge. So I put Mark has had enough. I said that they have the stereotypical 80s skateboard kid. And then I was like, he skateboards and draws comics just like I did. Yet I really cannot stand this kid. So a bunch of exclamation points. He falls asleep, ends up in an illustration. Creepy Jacob shows up, her kid, and we get another creepy kid in this series later on. But creepy Jacobs shows up, and then
So, like, is Freddie's mom is fighting Freddie? Is that
yeah,
what she's doing? Like, she's like,
yeah,
I will not let you, you're a damned, you're an abomination, and I will," and she's
yes,
like fighting
yeah,
against Freddie.
yeah. So the mom is taking a big role in this film, and you know, trying to get rid of Freddie completely. So I did write this. So we see the baby inside in the womb, and I wrote, and this is a spoiler if you've not seen Dune 2, but There's a weird parallel between this scene and Dune 2, and that's all I'm going to say. If you've seen Dune 2, you'll be like, I understand. And then I wrote, why would Alice's doctor call other people about her? Because she goes for the sonogram and she's all freaked out. And then Dan's dead, so his parents like come to the house and are
They want
questioning
that
her,
baby.
and they want the baby, and they don't think she could take care of it. But like, and their doctor called, and I'm like, why would the doctor call her deceased boyfriend's parents to say she showed up at the, like, that's some small town nonsense right there, that they're just calling whoever. Again, the adults, the infrastructure at this place, not so good. And then I was like, they need to find Amanda Kruger. And I was like, but she wasn't the one who guided them before? Question mark, because I was confused.
I was confused about a lot of parts of this movie.
And I said, so why is the house the key deal at times and his mother other times? So at certain points, it's a house. Now it's the mom. We got to get to his mom. And I said, Mark with his crazy comic book death. And I said there was lots of cool concepts in that. We're headed back to the asylum. Crazy Kruger baby ending. And then I had Kruger rap.
So this ending with this kid turning into Freddy is just so bad. And that's when I was texting you and you're like, these movies, wow. And I'm like, wait till you get to Dream Child, because there is this part and it irks me so much. Like it makes my spine tingle, but I would not stop like repeating it over and over to myself just to make myself cringe even harder. And I don't even know if I have the line right, but this kid, so like her kid gets possessed with Freddy's power and Freddy's trying to kill her. And the kid's like, Freddy, let her go. We can hang out and do cool things. You can give her to me. And then he goes, yeah, like he's about to play a trick on Freddy. Like he's being
Yeah.
and I've just been going, yeah, like it's like a Dave Mustaine kind of like snarl. It's this weird noise he makes. Like,
Wait,
I'm
is he
playing
like,
a trick on you, Freddy.
he's like, hello, me, it's me again.
We don't have to add Megadeth to the playlist. It's okay.
I
But he
just mentioned it though.
you give her to me, Freddy. We can hang out. Yeah. And I'm like, what is going on? And then the kid, I guess, like is tricking Freddy, and then the kid, like, I really didn't follow what happened. I was just so annoyed with all of everything that was going on and the dialogue that was happening and his delivery of the like I got you.
So if you joined us when we went over Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, Shawn talked about this amazing deal he got on the box set of all the movies, and it sort of sounds like that's not an amazing deal anymore.
No, I just wanted, honestly, I just wanted the first movie, and I expected it to be $20, and I got like all of these movies for $20. So it's pretty much a steal. However, it also came with Freddy vs. Jason, which like with the first movie and Freddy vs. Jason, that's $10 a piece. That's easily worth the price of admission for me.
You ready for 6? Yeah, number
Freddy's
6.
Dead, the final nightmare. The final nightmare.
1991. So they give us a break. They give us 2 years. So 2 years, Shawn. What could go wrong? This film's got to be fantastic. They had 2 years to work on this one. No way they could go wrong with this. Solid. Takes place 10 years later. All the teenagers and children are presumed dead in the town that Freddy was in, except for one. And then we get this very Freddy Wizard of Oz witch thing at the beginning. My notes say John Doe, that's the kid that's left from the town.
Because I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? I had no idea what was going on. No idea who he was. Yeah.
So he's the sole kid left in the town.
Bozo.
Right? And I wrote John Doe in the beginning is like this dream sequence, rolls down a hill for 40 seconds. Super silly. I had to time
one of
it.
my favorite scenes in a movie is, you ever see Black Sheep with, Chris Farley? And
Yeah,
he goes on the hill and he just gets
yeah.
down and he gets up and he goes, "What in the hell was that all about?" This is that
He
scene.
yeah, he rolls down the hill for 40 seconds, and while he's going down the hill, they've dubbed in his voice, and they dubbed in, and he's going, "Oh, ooh, and like time that out, ladies and gentlemen, 40 seconds, and like that's a really long time for a movie to have somebody just rolling down a hill. He's hit by a Freddy bus driver, and he says no screaming while the bus is in motion.
Awful.
They find
I
money in
like
his pocket.
the falling. He falls out of the sky and he lands, and when he, like, lands, he wakes up, like, that
Mhm.
again, like a key nightmare element that I have constantly. I'm always falling and falling and falling, and when I hit, like, that's when I get my head bounces off the pillow, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, thank God that wasn't real." Wile
So
E. Coyote shit.
so that's you bring up an interesting point, Sean. So part of the impact of the original film was us examining our dreams and when we're awake and when we're asleep. And so I feel like there's been so much dream research that there's probably a lot of really inventive ways they could have gone rather than it just being this character who becomes more and more comical and chases people. Like they could have worked in more sort of dream studies or real situations that happen with people or something. Like I think that all of these films needed to be rooted in something, and this is what happens where you're just making one after the other and different people are picking it up because it's like, oh, the house matters, no wait, bomb matters, no wait, the house matters again. Like we're confused on where we're at. And unlike the first one, although they only three do they give us time to really get to know the characters, and we like those characters a lot. The rest of these movies, I don't like any of these characters
Well, there is one that I like.
until we get to seven. But
Parker from
but that
Alien is in this.
yeah, but his character is weak. But
Not great.
I like Heather being back in seven, but we'll get to that. But I put that they find money in his pocket, and an article about the Kruger woman still missing. The kids are from a youth house in
Group home.
Springwood.
Yeah, is it
So
Springwood?
we meet Roseanne and Tom Arnold in this weird scene at this
Crazy Roseanne
fair.
and Tom Arnold in this movie.
Right. And I wrote my
Yep.
next line was this movie is ridiculous so far.
Yes. Did you notice, Sepultura written on the wall?
Really?
It was written on the wall in the room when the kid's in bed, and then again, there's a scene in a bathroom, and Sepultura is written in the bathroom.
Mm.
Really weird and out of place. Like, it was the first thing I noticed. I'm like, "Does that say Sepultura?" And I was like, "Does that say Sepultura again in a different room?" It's just
I
out of
don't I think it
nowhere.
said Sepultura
A
Arise.
rise, yeah.
I think you should add that to the index.
Do we what do we have? We can't just
Dead
be
embryonic
naming
cells.
we have you just naming songs, and now we're
Well, listen, I
throwing
gave you
random things.
Dramarama. It was in the movie for crying out loud. You put Freddie Rap on there. Can you get the
I
Freddie Rap on
I'm gonna
there?
look for it. I'm gonna
It
look
better
for it.
be on
It's
there.
so bad. It's
So
so
bad.
bad. So,
So
but
I
they're
put
looking
my
for Freddie's son? What are they doing?
yeah. So I wrote what a super long. My next line was what a super long scene with a hearing aid and a hearing aid monster, where
So,
Freddie
I
tortures this kid and pulls out this chalkboard and
yes, I did enjoy this wacky ass scene.
you did.
I thought it was a little creative, because the kid acting it, I feel like he played it well. Like, he played the horror and the misery and, like, the being I feel like he acted it out well, and with the Thing style ear
Yeah.
monitor, like, hearing aid, and Freddy with the nails and dropping the pins. I thought it was like there was at
But
least
Freddy's like,
a yeah.
again with the chalkboard. He's doing that whole thing, and then it like stretches bigger in his hands. We're getting goofy. We're getting like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit territory right now with Freddy. So I put the TV stops again. We get a test signal
Mhm,
as a callback to the original.
and who
And then
comes?
who appears on the television? Johnny
Glenn,
Depp.
Johnny Depp
And he's there with Freddy.
doing the egg in the pan brain on drugs commercial.
Yeah. And then my next line is the mask in this movie is so bad. It looks like a Halloween costume. And that brought me up to the point of the makeup job on Freddy in the original is so incredible, and it just gets worse and worse and worse in this. There's no detail to any of the makeup. It just looks like he just pulls this thing over his head and plays the character. There's no like, it's all very shiny and clean, and even the parts that are supposed to be kind of like woundy kind of things are just like not. Like it just has no life to it. That I said, now Freddy is in a video, and Inagata Devita by Iron Butterfly is playing.
Oh God, here we go.
Sean, if you add Inagata Devita by Iron Butterfly to our playlist, except you
Do it.
should add
The Slayer version.
the Slayer
The
cover
Slayer
from Less
version.
Than Zero, because the original is 17 minutes long.
And how long is Slayer's? I hope it's shorter.
Oh, it's way shorter than that.
Vertebrae
But
has added 7 songs to the In Madness playlist with
well,
this
you got to
podcast.
add something. We need people to keep listening to this episode. We're just buried like 4 movies in a row. We got to
Yeah,
give them
yeah, yeah.
something.
It's gonna get better with the next one, I promise.
But uh 17 minutes, Sean, when I was a kid, I thought that song was the longest thing I ever heard in my life. And now that is just a routine track for a lot of this
Oh,
atmospheric
for your
black
black
metal.
metal, yeah, yeah.
This is just an intro track, 17 minutes.
Micro
That's
changes
nothing.
in air density, yeah.
Yeah, we got like 68-minute long songs, you know.
And I
But
mean, I just
anyway,
gotta say it, there's one of the greatest Simpsons bits of all time is when Bart changes the, music and calls it "In the Garden of Eden" and has the entire church doing 17 minutes and the ladies playing on the do 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 do, and everyone
mhm,
raises the candle. It is just just one of the most epic Simpsons moments of all time.
right. And that is based on In the Garden of Eden is what that is in a God de Vita means. So that's pretty cool. And then I wrote now he's in Mario Brothers. Father knows best. Now I'm playing with power.
Mhm,
I wrote this
mhm.
video game crap is so campy and bad.
Yes.
Freddy is controlling these. These scenes go on forever.
The video game death is so atrociously bad.
Terrible. My
But, like,
next line,
he's looking for his daughter or something?
well, that's why I said wait. I wrote wait. This is Freddy's daughter? We're
Yeah.
right on the same wavelength with this,
Yes.
Sean. And he slices his finger off again. I wrote
Eh?
LOL.
Eh?
It's go-to move. Then they mention the dream people. And I'm like, who are the dream people?
The sperms with skull faces.
Who are they?
Yeah.
There are like 3 of them. That gets very like weird Lovecraftian kind of like cosmic horror kind of stuff. I don't know what that is.
But
And
we
then
see a bit of Freddy's past. We see him as, like, regular Freddy,
yeah, it's just
but
weird.
his daughter turns out to be the hottie, the chick working from the group home.
Yeah, and then his daughter, you know, he has his we see his maniacal basement. He had a home life, and I never pictured him having a home life and a child when we were in the original. Not at all. And it's got all these different knives down there. He's got this big, robust setup that he's surprised that like his wife found. It's in the
But
same
don't worry,
house.
I won't tell.
But like, how did she not? He's been down there all the time. She never went down there once.
Hey, man, listen. Every serial killer book I have ever read in my life, their wife's like, I had no idea. Maybe they
So,
did, maybe they didn't. But I mean, 33 bodies in the basement, and you don't know what's going
uh,
on in your own house. Shit's crazy.
so I'm going to admit something on this podcast,
Oh
Sean,
no,
which
how many bodies are in your
may
basement?
change your viewpoint of me. Seriously, and I may have even told this story before to you, but I have an unfinished basement in my house. So during the pandemic and everybody's home, I did wild things in that basement, Sean. Wild things. I once went downstairs and stood in front of the washer and dryer and at a Snickers bar by myself. By myself.
Stir of Echoes. We got to do Stir of Echoes. Great movie.
I just needed to get away because we were all just in the house. And I was like, I got this candy bar. I'm not sharing it with anybody
You
at all.
realistically, you just went downstairs and ate a Snickers bar by yourself in the
I
basement.
did. Yeah. I just stood there by myself in the basement and it was fantastic. It was
As
fantastic.
long as you didn't find Freddy's knives.
Yeah. But then we head into this part where she puts on these 3D glasses.
So was this
And
a 3D movie?
at that point in the theater,
The audience
that's
was
the
busting.
signal for the
That's
audience to put on their
so
glasses and see it in
stupid.
3D.
Oh my
So
god.
there's a lot of that, like, oh, it's coming at the screen kind of stuff
Mm.
as the rest of it's going on. And Shawn, you have to help me because
Mhm.
that's where my notes end for this movie.
So
How
all
does
I
this movie
we
end?
I don't remember. We see Freddy as a kid, and he's, like, killing a hamster, and he's
Yes.
a teen, and he's
Oh,
cutting himself, and he's getting beat by his dad, who is Alice Cooper.
yes.
But
Oh
no,
no. Oh
that no,
no.
I don't yeah, we don't have to add Alice Cooper to
Are we
that.
gonna do
Does he have
big
a song?
young?
If he has a song on this soundtrack, maybe. I
I'm
also
sure.
gonna
I'm
I
100%
I
sure
don't
he's
know
got
why
a
we gotta
song.
add all these songs from these movies that we do not enjoy. Uh,
I'm sure he has a
that's
song.
so funny. I'll look it up. If Alice Cooper had a song on the, 6th Freddy movie, I will add it to the InMad to Spotify. That's like 10 songs from this episode alone, but if
And then
Vertebrae
God of the Vita is gonna take up 17 minutes
we'll
alone
do the
to
Slayer
cover.
version. Hopefully, it's a little shorter. But yes, that is where my notes end. So I also do not remember how the hell this movie ends.
Oh man, why did our both our sets of notes end at
Because
that
this
time?
movie was trash.
And I struggled. I really struggled staying awake for these
They're
movies. It
not
was,
good films. They're not.
yeah.
I just do not enjoy them. I can't believe we're doing an hour-long episode about movies we hate.
Here's the thing. I don't hate them. I give a lot of credit to the
Yeah,
people
I
who
just
get to work
yeah,
on movies and
yeah,
do stuff.
yeah. I
I
just don't
think
care
that
for
there
them.
needed to be a driving force behind these films. Hindsight's 2020. So if you knew you were going to make this many of them, maybe you get a team of people together. This desperate need of like a showrunner. You know, have the showrunner for like an HBO show, and that kind of guides everything along as they go through it, and they'll have different directors. This needed somebody. They didn't do that for franchises back then, but you know, it's so discombobulated and it's so all over the place. But there's bits of it that's like, hey, if it's not the house and it's his mom and it's his religious stuff or whatever, then fine, go with it. But then they flip it, and then we're fighting him, and then we're not fighting him, and then he's taking over babies, and then baby Freddy, and then oh my god, he had a daughter. Like out of nowhere, he had like a daughter. It was
Hot daughter.
yeah. There needed to be some organization in this, Shawn. I think
Well,
if they do this again.
finally, it arrived, I believe,
Mhm.
for film number 7, Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
So let's hold on before we get there. It's a pipe bomb. That's what it is. They throw the pipe bomb into Freddy's chest, and the three demons are unable to revive him into
Oh,
the
yeah, the
world.
dream people.
And those little like green guys like go off. But yeah,
Atrocious.
okay.
Terrible movie. Sorry.
New, New
Good job to
Nightmare.
everybody who worked on it, but goddamn. Goddamn.
New Nightmare comes out in 1984. Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
We're doing some world flipping now, which I friggin' love.
So this movie, super meta. 2 years before Scream comes out, is he doing something where there's a movie in a movie kind of thing
Based in
going on?
reality.
10th anniversary of the original. We see a shot of these like servo claws being made
Super
for
cool.
for a movie, and his hand gets cut off, so he's going to attach that to his hand and have like almost like this hydraulic type claw set. And then it's this dream sequence where those claws come alive and kills people on the set, and then somebody wakes up from this dream sequence and it's
It's
our
Nancy. She's
yeah.
back.
So Heather is back, the actress, and she's playing herself,
Mm-hmm.
having been in the original film.
Mm-hmm. So she's not Nancy. She's actually who she is.
Mm-hmm. and the original film plays into this. She wakes up, there's earthquakes, her husband's hand is cut, and they're not sure how. And then she's had this obsessive fan calling her and doing the 1-2 Freddy's coming for you thing at her. And then at one point, her son is watching the original film and she turns
Mhm.
it off and he just screams.
Screams bloody murder, horrifying.
So we've got a new horror film that they want to film because it's the 10th anniversary. So we've got that, and Wes Craven's in it, plays himself. And so we're acknowledging that's the only thing that's weird about this for me, Shawn, is we're basically like, yeah, the original was just a movie.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know, like that, like I don't know, that part kind of bothers me a little bit because I
Okay.
think, like it's, in Halloween 3, there's the security guard in the
Mhm.
movie is
Watching
watching the
Halloween.
original
Mhm.
Halloween, which kind
Mhm.
of pulls it out a little bit. But I get it. You're turning it on its head. You're doing you're doing something different. I'm going to give him credit for that, and he certainly is. He's Wes Craven is thinking this way before he gets to Scream,
Mhm.
and having just shotgunned a whole bunch of Scream movies, I felt I felt in line with this. So her son Dylan, who's a creepy kid, another creepy kid,
Mhm.
he starts saying "Never sleep again" in this creepy
Oh
red rum
my
voice,
god. So I
and
like he's getting like possessed by Freddy, right?
yes, and his dinosaur gets cut open by the claws, so it's
Mhm.
got the claw marks with the stuffing coming out. And then the next thing I wrote was, "This kid is creepy!" 3 exclamation point.
Mhm. There's lots of cool cameos. I like that Robert Englund is in it as Robert Englund.
Mhm.
And also the teacher from it's funny, the teacher from part 1 is a
Mhm.
nurse in this, but I don't think she, like, she's not a character who knew that she was in the other movie.
Right, because we get the guy who was, the dad in the original and was a police officer, and we get him in here as just a friend of Heather and kinda helping her along. But then we get this crazy moment. But before that, I just wanna say the dad is driving home to help Heather because he's on the film set and she's
Dad
upset
is
about
back.
their son,
Yes.
and he's singing "Losing My Religion" in the car,
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
so
god. Oh,
I just
really?
wanna tell you that, that's me in the corner.
That's
That's
then
me in
now
the spotlight,
fucking 15 songs
losing my
added in when I
religion. And then, uh, we get a ton of references to the original film. Like, we get the babysitter in the hospital with Dylan because Dylan goes to the hospital, and they're really questioning Heather, like, "Did you let him watch your movie? What kind of parent are you? What's wrong with you?" She's got cuts on her arm that are
I like when
bleeding.
she's walking through the hall, they're like, "Where's your pass?" And she goes, "Screw your pass."
Yeah, so angry. Love it. She's got to get to her son, and then the babysitter's there with him. This is one dedicated babysitter. Got to give that babysitter a lot of credit. And what does she get for that, Sean? She gets killed, dragged up the wall, just like the death in the original film.
Tina.
Right. And then we get this kind of one of the coolest parts of this movie for me is when they start playing, when Heather starts playing Nancy, and then the other actor starts playing the dad again
Mhm.
as the cop and those roles, and it starts overlapping.
Mhm.
So she now he addresses her as Nancy, and and the other guy's what, Don Thompson, I think, they're on the street, and then she transforms into Nancy's clothes, and then
Chases down Freddy in her son's dream.
her son's crossing a highway, which is insane. And then Freddy uses his knife hands to like pick the kid up so he's not like getting hit by car. It's just very, very
It's
insane.
wild.
I don't know what the people were thinking who were driving the cars. I have a theory, Sean, on this movie.
I'm
So
listening.
if you take 1 through 6 and the way it started sort of so serious and then just got more absurd as it went along, that's what 7 does. And it's almost like, and I don't know this, but Wes Craven is mirroring what happened to the whole franchise in this one movie. And if that's the case, that's pretty cool. Like, it clearly gets bizarre with him picking the kid up by his claws, and so he'd be floating in the air in front of these cars on the highway. So yeah, I think that's pretty neat.
I like that they get Freddy with the old Hansel Gretel because throughout the movie, she's
Mhm.
reading it to her son. And then at the end, he crawls into an oven and Freddy's chasing after him. But I also love that Freddy lifts the kid up and Freddy's whole jaw opens up and he puts the kid in his mouth.
Mhm.
It's and he's, the kid starts stabbing at Freddy and they do the the little psycho tribute, which is really cool.
And Freddy looks different in this movie. The makeup
I
is a lot
dig
different.
I dig the mask in this, like the
It's
face in
different. The
this.
claws are different, right? He's got kinda like the
It's
hydraulics
kind of
type things
polished.
and
It's
stuff.
very like
Yeah.
early 2000s.
So, they push Freddy into the furnace, destroying him. They emerge back into the real world. They're under these blankets because the kid's got the whole thing about being under the sheets. That's how she goes in. So Heather goes in. So if you want to get to the Hansel and Gretel, they leave breadcrumbs,
Mhm.
and the kid leaves sleeping pills.
Dude, and she's popping a lot of sleeping pills,
She
and I'm like,
takes 3 sleeping
"Slow
pills
down,
very
Nancy."
quickly. Like, I think you could have just gathered it up without taking the pill, right? Like, I'll pop
Mhm.
1, okay, the next one's here, the next one's here. I could follow it and put it in my pocket, but she takes all 3. When they come back into the real world, they find a copy of Wes Craven's screenplay for the
Mhm.
movie they were gonna make, which is their reality. Their reality that they just went through is in this screenplay. And there's a note from Wes thanking her for defeating Freddy and playing Nancy one last time. Pretty weird
Yes,
movie,
it's a little
but
strange.
they tried in a different way, and I appreciate that, and I can't help but think that this was the precursor to Scream.
Yep.
That he's thinking movie inside a movie, movie rules, no movie rules. Now, there are other Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Sean, right? So there's a remake,
Mhm.
and then there's the Freddy versus Jason. So I don't know if we'll ever do those, but I
We have to do Freddy vs. Jason. I will petition for it. It's like I feel like it's like an amazing horror movie. I love
do
what
you
they
think
did
this is gonna be our least listened to episode of all time? I
because
think
we're just trashing 7
yeah,
movies.
yeah, we watched listen, we did the work. If you don't wanna have to see these and you never saw them, we just gave you weird cliff notes, and you
Well,
gotta
I just
deep
wanna know
dive
I
into
wanna
our
know
how
what
our
people
minds work.
thought about it because people love these movies, and I just
Mhm.
can't for the life of me fathom what about it is they love. And since
Yeah.
we were riding this Nightmare on Elm Street thing, I was like, we might as well talk about them, but just because we're talking about them doesn't mean it's always gonna go in the direction we want it to.
Mhm.
Or you might want it, or the listener might want it to. But what I did like, so the kid in this, that it's the same kid from Pet Cemetery, right? It's Gage, right? I'm
Oh,
almost
I didn't
positive it's
realize
the
that.
same kid,
Nice.
which is funny because in Dream Child, when Jacob showed up, the yeah kid, I thought that was the kid Gage from Pet Cemetery until he showed up in this movie. And I'm like, who
Mm,
the hell is the Dream Child kid? And that is the kid from Jurassic Park when they're looking for the Velociraptor bones. And he's like, that's not scary. And then
mm.
he takes out the big claw and he shows him how like the Velociraptor would gut them, and then the kid gets freaked out. That's the kid from Dream Child, I think. I didn't do my research, but they all look alike. But yeah, so I thought one kid was the other kid until the other kid showed up.
Yeah, that could be the summary of this whole episode. I thought one thing was happening in this movie, and then something else happened in this movie, and I'm not really sure what happened. We got
Yeah.
5 films of kind of nonsense here, but
I just didn't. I mean, listen, again, when it comes down to franchise history, everyone's like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm like, I've seen them all, and I
Mhm,
don't agree. I have to respectfully disagree. I feel like Halloween is stronger. I feel like the Saw franchise is one of the strongest horror franchise. You know why? Because of what you said, where I feel like all the Saw movies like overlap. There's
mhm,
all layering and like the story gets, I mean, it might get a little ridiculous how like in depth it is and how, but it just draws out and draws out, but it's all connected. And I think that connection is what makes it cool. Even though the story isn't as great, it sort of declines as they go on. But like they're all, I feel like I feel like most of the Saw movies are like super enjoyable. I feel like that's one of the super
Well, how many are
strong.
there? There's like 105 or
I
something.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, there's like 10 of them, and then they did like Spiral, and then they did Jigsaw. They do all these things, but like, I feel like the main Saw movies are just like the way it all is done and the creative kills, and it's just like it's way more fun and way more creative. And but again, like Freddy and Jason walked, so Jigsaw can run, I guess. So,
Right. But I mean, I only saw the first Saw movie, and then
which is
honestly,
like all you
it
need
was
to see.
fine. It
I
was fine.
loved it. You telling me that
Yeah.
ending didn't blow your fucking
Uh,
mind?
it was fine.
Dude.
It was fine.
I
I
know
was
you don't
okay with it.
I know you don't like the crazy shit, and that is
Nah,
quite a
but
crazy
yeah,
movie.
yeah, but that's fine. To each, to everybody their own
Man,
cup
that's
of
what
tea.
got me. It was like Blair Witch, man. Those endings, those last 30 seconds are like, oh, stick with me forever. And the soundtrack, come on, that's what it is. It's like you pair the music, it's like the wine with the cheese and the dun, 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 dun. I can't wait till we do Saw, and then I could add that to the In Madness Spotify.
If we do, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
15 songs we gotta add. Yeah, we gotta do so. I mean, we'll see. We'll leave it up to a vote, maybe, and we won't have any
No, no,
way
no,
out
no,
of it.
no more voting. No more voting allowed. I
No
block
way.
all the voting. But
Yeah,
listen,
we gotta vote every month next year.
appreciate everyone taking this ride with us,
I
Sean.
guess,
This was
yeah. If you stuck around, Jesus.
If you stuck around, this will be our lowest rated episode ever. We appreciate you guys listening. We have a lot of, I just want to say we have stuff planned for next year, some big things planned for next year. I have some big stuff coming up already slated for 2025 for my brand, for Vertebrae33. So that'll be exciting for the world to see some of that stuff. And then we've got some big plans for the podcast. We even have some potential guests already lined up for 2025. And
All this
we've got
planning we
some
did,
concepts and we've
all
got
this
some
planning.
ideas.
You know what we didn't do?
What's that?
Discuss like what the hell our teaser is going to be for our next episode. We know what our movie is, right? I think we know what our movie. We locked it in, right? We're locked in.
Yeah. I'm going to
Okay.
leave it up to you
Okay.
then, right here as we
So
record. What
so
is
make sure you follow us on all the socials. Honestly, I want to hear about your nightmares. I want to hear some Nightmare on Elm Street nightmares you've had, or just,
Mhm.
in general. I've shared my nightmares with you. You can share them with us on the socials at In Madness Pod, or email them to us and tell us in further detail inmadnesspod@gmail.com. We're on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, hit the 5-star review on everything. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist, which is going to be outlandish
Mhm.
after this new episode. Make sure you tell everyone you know about this show. And if you want a shirt, go to inmadness.com. All of the links, everything I have just said to you is all provided in the description of every episode you are listening to, no matter what platform you are listening on. Check the details, click on more, click on whatever you got to click on to get that link to open to find all of the links that I just recommended to you. And also send us your voice notes and your emails for the In Madness holiday special. We are doing our year in review, and we want to hear from you. If we don't hear from you, there's going to be no Christmas. How about that? Bah,
Oh, that's
humbug.
so mean. Listen, also, write in, let us know how much you hated this episode
Yeah, I mean, it
that we
is what it
just did.
is.
That's fine. We'll
I
take
want
the
to know
heat
your
for it.
thoughts on these sequels, please. If
Yeah,
you
let us know.
enjoyed
Maybe
them,
there's something we missed. I
yes.
did not do any gnarly bits research because I did not have time in a week's let's be honest, Sean. We're recording closer to when we're releasing now. So this I just did these movies night after night after night in a row leading up to
Agonizing.
last night, getting through 7, and then I kept falling asleep with about 15 minutes left in part 7. Then I'd wake up and the credits would be rolling. Then I'd go back. Then I'd fall asleep again. And I was just like, oh, I got to get through these. I got to get through them. And part of it is, listen, we're tired. It gets late. And when we normally do just a single movie, it's like I, watch 20 minutes to a half hour because I keep stopping it to take notes. So like if you stop it, it takes much longer to watch it. And then the next night jump in and do it and do that over a period of like a week. But this was like every night, here's a new movie. Okay, I'll do it again. This was rough, but I'm gonna tell you, I don't know, Sean. Maybe I'm starting to like them a little more after I sat and watched them all in a row. Who knows?
Good for you. You have fun watching them and rewatching them to your heart's content.
I gotta come at you with some gnarly bits that you never even heard of. But you want to tease? You want to tease our next movie?
So, with that being said, we are going to tease our final film of 2024. Would you believe that? 2 years wrapped up on In Madness Pod. Crazy, crazy. Okay. It's a new one.
I got a teaser.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just gonna everyone will know, but
Oh no.
Charlie ruined it.
Ah man. Yep. It's a new one. And Charlie ruined it. That's it. That's our hits for next week. We will see you, friends. Make sure you brush up on these movies so you could be in conversation with us. We'll see you next week for another thrilling episode, a more positive episode of In Madness Pod.